Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Notes to Self podcast. I am your host, Rachel Huynh, and I just want to take a moment to thank you guys for listening in today, because what that means is that you are choosing to listen to something that might actually help to bring about a better version of you. And if you're new here, welcome. This podcast is based around the idea that with each episode, it's like a note that's left to me from my future self to a previous version of myself that could have benefited to hear from the advice on whatever topic the episode is focused on discussing here today. So whatever episode that you are tuning into today, I hope that you take this as a note to self from your future self. With that, we can go ahead and jump right into today's episode. And I'm going to start off with a question. How much of your life is governed by other people? Really think about it. Are your daily decisions made based on what other people will think of you? Are you the type of person to avoid trying something new, avoid trying that class that you know that you would have so much fun doing because you want to avoid the potential risk for embarrassment? Or maybe you're the type of person who doesn't raise their hand in class when they know an answer to something because there's an ever so slight chance that you may answer incorrectly in front of your whole class. Or maybe you're the type of person where you don't wear what you truly feel like wearing because you're concerned about how other people will view you. All of these things have something in common, and if you couldn't already guess by the title of the episode, what they have in common is the fear of judgment. And this episode is actually brought to you by my own podcast launch, or my pre-podcast launch, I should say, because I was having a lot of self-doubt, a lot of hesitancy with being seen or being vocal about the creation of my podcast and the launch, because I wasn't sure how other people would take it. I wasn't sure if they cared. I wasn't sure if they would laugh at me for trying to start something like this. I didn't know if maybe they would think that my podcast sucks and would ridicule me behind closed doors. And it just reminds me of a quote by James Horton Cooley, who was an American sociologist. And the quote goes, "I am not what I think I am. I am not what you think I am. I am what I think you think I am." And that quote just sheds so much light to the fact that a lot of us live in a world of perceptions. When it comes to anything that we want to do in life, we can all live scared of a potential judgment or potential criticism that we haven't even received yet, because we're scared that if we actually take the step towards that thing that it is that we want, then we'll receive that exact criticism. And what we're doing there is we are projecting and predicting what other people will think or feel before they even have a chance to think about that themselves. And maybe it's actually because we think that of ourselves, and secretly, because we are our own worst critics, as they say. So going back to my podcast example, before I had even launched the podcast, I was predicting and projecting my fear that people would not like my podcast when I hadn't even launched it yet, and I'm already perceiving that this is what people are going to think. And that is just not a way to live. The fear of judgment is the fear of being criticized, being rejected, or being humiliated in some way. And so it's natural for us as humans to feel like being judged is a danger. No one wants to be judged, because back then, if your tribe did not like you, they could reject you and exile you from the tribe. So what would that mean for you? It would mean, well, death, because now you don't have the support and the protection of your community. And evolutionarily speaking now, we aren't going to die if someone doesn't like us, but we still seek safety through acceptance and belonging. The way that I see it now is that this is one of the biggest fears that hinders us from living a fulfilling life that is free. Because being concerned with other people's thoughts, their feelings, their responses, and their reactions is quite literally like putting yourself in a mental jail. Because what that does now is it paralyzes us from being autonomous, from being independent, and from living a life that is truly ours. We stay in one spot and make ourselves feel so small just to make other people feel comfortable. We become so concerned about what other people think that we don't become concerned enough about what we think of ourselves. And this creates so much stagnancy because then we feel stuck on what to do, because if we do this, then one person will think one thing, the other person will say this thing, and what do we end up doing? Nothing. Nothing. We will spread ourselves so thin if we care about what every single person thinks. If we are in the center and then we care about this person and this person and this person and that person, eventually we will spread ourselves so thin that we will just tear ourselves apart. I don't know about you, but I don't have the capacity for that. So if you find yourself caring too much about what other people think, you need to find a better way to protect your energy and protect your peace. Social media definitely does not make this easy, especially when people are always posting about the best parts of themselves online and everything becomes about status. Are you driving the nicest car? Are you making the most money? Are you having as successful of a business, or are you traveling to all of these destinations? It becomes this comparison game that you never actually win. You never actually feel good enough, and that's why I think that the fear of judgment is so closely tied to self-belief and self-confidence. If you are constantly doubting yourself and doubting if you're as good as the people that you see on social media, if you don't believe in yourself, these are the exact judgments that you will predict and project that other people will have of you. Think about the most confident people you know, or actually think about your favorite celebrity, like I don't know, Mariah Carey. Do you think that Mariah Carey would care what little George or little Tina from Wisconsin think about her singing? No, because she has full belief in herself that she is one of the most iconic singers of all time. So it doesn't matter what little Tina or George from Wisconsin will say, because that is what she believes of herself. And on the opposite side of the spectrum, if you are lacking self-belief and self-confidence, that is when you will feel insecure and self-doubt, and you'll start seeking for things outside of yourself. But what you need to realize is whatever you are seeking externally is what you actually need internally. So whatever you are seeking from the outside, you need to be able to give yourself from the inside first. For example, if you're looking for more love from other people, that is actually something that you need to try and give yourself first. You need to try and love yourself first before you can expect other people to love you as well. If you're looking for validation, for acceptance, these are things that you need to be able to give yourself first. The only reason you would be seeking for other people to give this to you and fill that void is because it's not already present within you. If you already have something, you don't need to go out and seek it anywhere else. This lack, this emptiness, this void that you expect other people to fill cannot be filled by them. It can only be filled by you. When you consistently have these things already present within yourself, you will feel stable. But if you don't have them already within yourself and you're constantly seeking them from other people, you will feel unsteady and unsure of yourself, and you will constantly need other people to keep pouring into you in order to feel secure. But when you do that, you also give other people the power to be able to take away these structures for stability and security, and that will cause you to crumble eventually. Eleanor Roosevelt said it best when she said that no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Rob Dial said it best when he said that no one can hurt you with words that you don't already believe. And if what other people think or say affects you so deeply, then maybe a part of you actually already believes that to be true of yourself. And that's why you let these critiques or judgments get to you. So, how do we work on self-confidence and self-belief? Well, it might not be the answer that you think that it is. There was a study done by Albert Bandura, and it's called the self-efficacy study. And what they tested on individuals was their belief in their ability to succeed. And what they found was that one of the major ways that people built self-efficacy or self-confidence was through facing a situation that was challenging. Whether they actually succeeded or not didn't matter, because the act of facing the challenge itself is what built their self-confidence. So, what does that tell us? Well, it tells us that part of building self-confidence and self-belief is by doing the hard things. Why? Because whether it's pushing yourself to do a workout that you don't feel like doing, or forcing yourself to meditate for 5 minutes when your mind feels like it's running 1,000 miles an hour, or working on your business when you're feeling unmotivated, all of these things that pose a challenge that you decide to take on is actually an opportunity where you can see yourself show up for yourself. That is what builds self-confidence and self-belief. Doing the things that you also said that you were going to do is also what builds trust within yourself, and trust that you can rely on yourself. Likewise, if you don't do what you said that you were going to do, that breaks trust with yourself. You lose trust with yourself. So if you said that you were going to wake up super early, 5 a.m. in the morning to go do a workout, and you hit the snooze button and skip it, you are actually losing trust within yourself. You say that you're going to eat clean and you don't do it, you lose trust with yourself. If you say that you're going to read more to build your intellect and you don't do it, you lose trust within yourself. Because what you are witnessing is you going against your word and you not showing up. So mentally, your mind and your body is taking note and coming to terms with that you yourself are not a reliable person. So do challenging things, show up for yourself, build your self-confidence so that you don't need to search for anything outside of yourself, that of which you can give to yourself first. Speaking of challenging things, I am going to drop a little story time here, and many of you actually don't know this, but in the summer of 2020, I actually lost my job due to the pandemic, and I joined a life coaching group because during that time, I saw myself going into the field of nutrition coaching, and this life coaching group was specifically for people who wanted to build a business of their own. Part of being an entrepreneur was having an iron mindset and the confidence to promote your services, because a lot of business owners tend to have imposter syndrome. And so what they had us do was a 14-day challenge. So In that challenge, we were taking cold showers every day. We worked out every day. We stuck to a diet every day. We did 90 outreaches, meaning likes, comments, DMs, to connect with people and build our network. So all of these challenging things where we can actually see ourselves show up for ourselves and what we committed to for those 2 weeks. Another challenge that they had us do was to go out in public to a place that was laden with people. And I kid you not, they told us to go out to a public place and just lay on the ground for 30 seconds. Let me tell you, when I heard that, I was like, I'm going to die. I am going to die of embarrassment. I was this 23-year-old girl who was super shy, super introverted, and cared so much about not looking weird in front of other people. And you're gonna tell me to do what? Come again? But I was kind of desperate to get my life in order then, so if this was what it was going to take, then so be it. So I did it. And I will put the videos up somewhere here because I did have my mom record it at the time. And I did it not once. Oh no. I did it 3 times. And the first attempt was at a bank, in a line of a bank. And I was at the end of the line. And so when I was laying on the ground, I found it not to be as challenging as they were trying to make it out to be in the group, because no one was looking at me and I didn't feel the pressure, so I didn't feel that it was that hard. So what did I do? I went to the grocery store after and did the exact same thing. But for some reason, in my second attempt, I kid you not, the minute that I laid down, suddenly the people just dispersed. There was no one around. And so again, I felt that it was not as challenging. So attempt number 3, going into a busier spot, still in the grocery store, and trying again. And that's when finally I got my challenge, because I started to feel uncomfortable. There's people walking past me, staring down at me, whether they're curious or whether they're passing judgments in their head. And this one sweet lady, God bless her soul, came up to me just to make sure that I was okay. And then after the 30 seconds, I got up and continued my day as usual. The point of this challenge was to do something difficult or challenging or uncomfortable, yes, but it specifically got us to see that our perception of this fear of judgment from other people wasn't as bad as what our minds made it out to be. Because what happened to us while we were laying there on the ground being judged by people? Nothing. Nothing bad happened to us. We survived another day. We went on with our own personal lives, and so did the people who were looking at us and probably judging us for laying on the ground. We didn't die of embarrassment, and the people who had noticed us on the ground laying there for 30 seconds probably forgot about us in the next week. And so every time that I begin to get worked up over this fear of judgment, I just think to myself, heck, if I can lay down in a grocery store on the floor in the middle of the pandemic and in the middle of a crowd of people that I don't even know, I can for sure wear that cute top that I want to wear, take that class that I want to take, share my podcast, and so much more. It's just absolutely ridiculous the amount of things that we obsess over that we think that other people will pass judgments on. If they're not a celebrity, be honest and ask yourself how much time you actually spend in your day wondering about every single person in your life. Family, friend, close friend, acquaintance, your neighbor. How much time do you actually spend thinking about what they're doing, who they're seeing, why they chose their career path, what are they wearing? Not like that, okay? What they chose to eat today, and all of these little nitty-bitty, itty-bitty details of a person's life. 10 minutes? Maybe even? And that's the exact same for other people and you. They are worried about their own lives and too concerned about themselves just the same way that you are. They can't spend more than 10 minutes to think about you in that way as you think that they would or that you perceive that they would. The other thing that you can do to overcome your fear of judgment is to practice detachment. And one of my favorite ways that I've actually discovered was from Mel Robbins, and it's called the Let Them Theory. And this theory is something that you use in situations where you're wanting to control things. You have an intense urge to control situations, control people, control outcomes, or what have you. And this theory addresses our own anxiety around uncertainty and also lets people be themselves. And this in turn actually creates emotional peace within you. And I'm going to teach it to you in the context of fear of judgment from other people. So let's say that your parents aren't necessarily happy about your decision to pursue the arts as your career path. What are you going to do? You are going to let them. You are going to think to yourself that if the arts makes me happy, if it's what makes me feel fulfilled, and if it's what I truly want to do, then I am going to let them think whatever they want to think. Someone thinks that your editing sucks. Let them. Just let them think that. Someone thinks that you are too loud and too obnoxious, then just let them. As long as you know that you're being your genuine self, then you can just let other people be who they are and think what they want to think. People will judge you for a second and then move on with their day and their lives because they have other things to tend to. And let's say that they continue to pass judgments on you. That is actually a reflection of their character and not yours. It is highlighting something that is triggering a wound of insecurity for them, or they're just envious because you may have something that they want. I don't know if that's a comforting thought to you, but it is to me, so we're gonna roll with it. And this theory is so simple. It's almost hard to believe how simple it is to apply. But once you do, it is so liberating. Let them. Something else that I do when I feel the fear of judgment hindering me from whatever action or decision that I want to make is reminding myself of my mission or my why, my intention behind what it is that I'm wanting to do. So, for example, with the podcast, I remind myself that I have a message that will help other people. And it would be a disservice to not only myself, but to everyone else out there if I withhold this message that could potentially help them shift an important aspect of their lives. For you, it could be more simple. It can even be much simpler for you that you want to try a class to try something new and make new friends. You feel cute in your outfit, so you want to take a photo so that you can post it later. You want to try this new controversial diet that other people might not agree with, but you've been seeing that other people have had positive experiences with their health. I say that if your intention behind the thing that you want to do is good and it's not directly harming anybody else, just go ahead and do it. A visualization exercise that I want you guys to try is to close your eyes right now and take a couple deep breaths. Breathe in and breathe out. Okay, now I want you guys to ask yourself, what kind of person would I be if I didn't care so much about what other people thought? Who would I allow myself to be? Or who would I allow myself to express myself as? Would I be more extroverted and speak my mind more often? Would I be someone who was more open to taking risks, crack jokes, not caring whether other people laughed or not? How would I feel being someone who didn't care about other people's judgment or criticism? Would I feel more peace, more freedom, more ease, less sensitivity, and less insecurity? Really take your time to think about this version of yourself and feel what it is like to be this ideal version of yourself. Really embody what it is that they would do, how it is they would act, what kind of thoughts and feelings that they would have towards judgment and criticism, and how they would never allow it to hinder them from the things that they want to do. Feel how good it is to be free from the psychological cage of judgment. Feel how great it would be to be this person. Keep thinking and feeling about this desire to be this person along with the thing that you've been wanting to do. Now, I want you to think about and come to the realization that if you don't sacrifice for what it is that you want, what you want becomes the sacrifice. If you don't sacrifice a bit of risk for potential embarrassment or judgment, you end up sacrificing the loss of this person that you want to be, along with that business that you want to build, that dream that you want to follow, the opportunity to connect with people who feel like your tribe, the opportunity to discover yourself. If the potential risk for embarrassment or judgment is the currency for exchange in order to be great at something, then which sacrifice would you choose? And finally, if there's nothing else that you do from this video, let it be this. I want you to make a list of the people that matter to you. Which people in your life do you have a genuine connection with that if they gave you feedback, you would take it into consideration? I can maybe think of a handful of people for myself. Now, after you're done making your list, take a look at it and see if anybody is not on this list, then they can get lost with their criticisms and judgments. If they did not make that list, you do not have to care about them. It's as simple as that. You also better make sure that the very first person that you put on that list is yourself, because no one else's opinion should matter more than your opinion of yourself. And this goes for things that have good intentions behind them, okay? If you're wanting to jump in a cage with a hungry bear, then maybe you should listen to the other people who are telling you that you are crazy and not to do it. The key thing here is to remember that you are not for everyone. There will be people who, no matter what you do, will just not like you. But you don't have to spend all of your time and energy convincing them of your value. You can be the finest wine imported from Italy, and there are still going to be people that do not drink. There are still going to be people who will not drink what you are pouring, and that's okay. The world is filled with people who will not like you, but it's also filled with people who will love you fiercely for who you are. It's when you let your authentic self shine through and you allow yourself to be seen doing the things that aligns with the person that you are. That is ultimately how you find the people who are for you. So that's where I'm going to leave you guys today with this episode. I hope that you guys enjoyed listening in. And if this episode brought absolutely any value to you, please do me a favor and share the episode, share the podcast, or just simply like the episode for me. It helps the podcast grow so that it can be discovered and other people can find it. The more that we grow, the more people that we can help, and the more that I can continue to create these meaningful episodes for you guys. And if you want to stay up to date on all the episodes released, be sure to hit that follow button on Spotify, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, and I will catch you guys in the next one. I love you guys. Take care.